The Seven Shoes are a mysterious bunch. They appeared during a crisis in Antares 100 years ago, became heroes in the public eye of the civilians by saving it, and then they just dipped, and no one, at least not in Oxia, has ever heard from them again. So where did they even come from, and what are their origins? Well, we do have one tiny trace of their origins left, and that is from a book titled The Seven Shoes and One Law. The most important part being this one law. People originally believed in this law wholeheartedly, but very few have found evidence that it actually exists. Even the evidence could be misunderstandings. So after a while, this law faded into obscurity. It makes you think, how are these guys able to master the shadows and control them? It seems like an impossible task because their rules are so contradictory and confusing. Perhaps this law is the reason? There were theories that this law appeared first and was distributed to the Shus. It's clear that this law is our ticket to understanding the Shus' origins. And actually, there is a giveaway to the origin of the Shus in the chapter, or at least someone seemingly more important than the rest. Sanchi keeps calling someone her master. Later, it's confirmed that that person is Baiji. Today, we'll be focusing on the anecdotes of Baiji and how he may be connected to the origins of the Shus. Baiji is the most interesting one to me next to Ajita because he might be the leader of the Shus. He's in front of this photo, he's the tallest one. I mean, in the Thelema event, they basically confirm it. So why did I say might be the leader, like it's not certain? Well, you're just gonna have to get further in the video to find that out, silly. No one likes impatience. These are the divine scribes in which every Shu wrote down their title. It's very commandant-like. Why would this be in Baiji's anecdotes if he wasn't important? We'll get back to these scribes later in the video because there is something really interesting here. The next story, it's called Transcendence, and this story may be actual evidence of the law's existence. In this story, Baiji asks himself a question over and over to himself. Can humans be like this? Why can humans be like this? Can I still be considered human? The timeline in which this takes place is unknown, but I'm assuming this is when Baiji first found his power, and by extension, the beginning of all the Shu's power. He's asking himself this question because he's experiencing transcendence. His thought process is suddenly elevated. He's confused. The change from mortal to divine is not an easy one. I assume I've never had that change happen to myself, and if you say you have, he decides to have fun with his newfound godhood because why not? He gets used to this change frighteningly quickly as he swiftly forgets about living beings. They are nothing to him now. Nice, dude. I can tell you're a good person already. The lifeless were no longer worth mentioning. The lifeless being mortals, I'm assuming because divine beings are the only beings who have truly lived in his eyes. He can look upon an item in the world around him and instantly conjure up that exact same item, but it's not exactly creating something out of nothing in the traditional sense. Because it already existed, he can just make a copy out of it. Apparently, he has always been able to do this in the world he inhabited, which could be linked to, we don't know. Creating something out of nothing was merely a dangerous phenomenon, which I don't know what that means. He had killed himself many times. I immediately think of Saw when I see that he's trying to kill himself, potentially meaning the remaining sides of himself that are human. This is exactly what Saw strived to do by submerging her consciousness into the Sea of Quanta, and that did not work out well for her. So I don't know about this, Baiji, but you do you, I guess. As you can tell, I'm kind of skipping around this anecdote. This anecdote is very confusing. There are a lot of metaphors and words in quotation marks. Everything I say related to the words in quotation marks books. It's my own interpretation of what they mean. You could have a totally different meaning. Put it in the comments below if you do. I'd love to hear from you. Not long after this, a girl stumbled into a library pleading for connection. She told Baiji all about her. Baiji showed her something absolutely incredible, which I assume is his power, and then afterwards she asked the same question he did. Can humans be like this? The girl from the ending, I personally think that's Serapeum, because it talks about a library and nobody else has a library in their anecdotes except for her. That and that she was pleading for connection, which is very similar to union. It seems like he potentially gave Serapeum his power. In Act 2, we were introduced to an artifact called the Box of Memories and Time, found by Sea of Data researchers in the Sea of Data. This artifact can help you go back in time and revisit old memories of your past. What's really interesting though is that Sanchi is surprised to see the box here, stating that Master is absolutely obsessed with this box and that she thought he would be sleeping with it by now. Her master being Baiji. We do not know why Baiji had this, how he found it, or what he would use this for. What we do know is that this box was used for an entirely different purpose in the prologue of Part 2. In the last stage of the Part 2 prologue, Kiana had a strange dream in which Senadina came and spoke to her. Although before Senadina came, a box appeared. This same box. You can see it being used in this CG down here. We have to investigate the box for Senadina to appear. Is Senadina the owner of this box? We don't know. We also don't know how it ended up in the Sea of Data and how Baiji obtained it. We know that this box was used for Senadina and Kiana, two deities, to converse with each other. Since Baiji is a deity as well, I can't help but wonder if Baiji has come into contact with Senadina. Did she potentially give him this unknown source of power, and is this unknown source of power the law? He certainly seemed to love this power in his anecdote, so it would make sense that he would treasure the thing that gave him that power. Maybe Senadina has contributed to the creation of the Seven Shus more than we originally thought. Which was nothing. Why would we ever think Senadina has anything to do with this? This has been a completely disconnected story thus far, which is why I'm so shocked and interested by this. Senadina, I have a lot of questions for you. Did you form a covenant with him? Did you dance with him? Did you cheat on Dreamseeker, you whore? Sorry, I got carried away there. One other thing that I think is important enough to mention about him is that in one of Litost's anecdotes, Baiji creates a weighted scale, and when he puts gears of various sizes on one side of the scale doesn't tip over and remain steady, revealing that Baiji has the power to contradict gravity itself, which I assume he did that to show Litost that he is the true alpha male. Sacrificing yourself? Nah, that's beta shit. I'm sorry guys, I keep getting carried away. The first thing that Litost says to Baiji is, "Your grace is wasted on someone like me." This reminds me of the Serapeum thing, which is very odd. There is obviously a connection here. Litost is acting like Baiji saved him. So at least two of the Shus got their power from him. Is that true for the rest of them? Everything points to this guy being the leader, and I was so certain, but there are two lines of dialogue in the Thelema event that shattered that certainty and made me rethink things. Even the title Shu didn't bear the significance that would later be granted by the man whose surname was Bai. There was more than one person who had already discovered the subtle connection between fears and shadows at this moment and had used their own means to exploit it. These two lines made me wonder if Baiji was really the leader or not, because if he was, you would think he would be the first one to find the connection between the shadows, right? But Thelema did before him. In fact, multiple people did. And that perfectly matches that in the Divine Scribes, Thelema is the first Shu, and Baiji's not even the second or third, he's the fifth. So, what's going on here? I personally think that I confused the power of the shadows and this law as one power in my brain, when in actuality it's two different powers. I think Baiji is the one that got this law first, and Baiji shared his power with Thelema, and using that law, Thelema discovered how to master the shadows first. The 7 Shus are also basically the 13 Flame Chasers, but evil and with less members. Alicia is the original Flame Chaser and ranked herself second instead of first because she thought Kevin would be a better fit as a leader. Is it the same scenario here? Maybe he made himself the 5th Shu. If so, he must want to stay real inconspicuous if he ranked himself that low. Maybe it has something to do with the law. Maybe that's why he ranked himself so low, because if he was the first Shu, that would draw attention to him and perhaps the law as well? That's my theory. What do you think is happening between Baiji and Thelema? Put it in the comments down below. This is where the trail ends for now. We have no more information on Baiji or any of the other Shus so far. We will have to wait for more chapters, which are coming soon, very soon in fact. I'm either posting this the day before new story drops or the day of. Whoops, I waited a little too late to make this, but there was a lot to cover, so what are you gonna do? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't watched part 1 of this video, which is a breakdown of the rest of the Shus, click the video in the center of the screen whenever it pops up. I'm really interested in all of the Shus, and I hope after these videos you are too. Like and subscribe using the buttons down below or on the side. I don't know if the new layout is up yet. I still have the old one. Peace out.